Alright guys, got my shipment of Dike in Conklin. As you can see, it came from Jegs. I used to order stuff from them, so back when we used to tinker with the Mustang, which we haven't touched for a while. Got to get back to that at some point if we can get rid of some of these other projects. But I like this because it's supposed to be temporary. It does look like it'll work cold. That's another plus, and the main thing is it's temporary. It's not supposed to plug up the system. And I know some of you guys will probably just straight out start flaming. Why would you do that? Why don't you fix it right? And hopefully the wind's not too bad. It's definitely windy. I'm standing in the shop right now, but as you can see, the reason we bought it is because it's got an upper. It's got a big main boom that lifts things. I do not want to put $5,000 to $7,000 into rebuilding this engine when that boom could have issues too. We haven't had a chance to test that boom. You might raise that thing up and try to go pivot it, and the turntable bearings might be grinding and popping and all sorts of stuff. So this is a good, and this would have come in super handy on the way down too. Once we realized that thing was dumping antifreeze into the oil, we were already most of the way home anyway, so it still would have saved us some to where we could have put that in the antifreeze and at least not had to dump as much into the oil. So would have been better than nothing. It would definitely be a good solution to have in our pocket in case I've got a piece of equipment out in the field that springs a leak and I need to get a job finished. It's one of those good things that's temporary. If this truck does great and works great, yeah, we'll probably go ahead and get it rebuilt and keep the thing. Who knows? I might start doing tree work as a hobby instead of excavation. I never know. I'm always up for the thing that I enjoy most and makes me money. And I do like excavating. I like tree work too, though. I've done it before. So. All right, what am I going to show you? I'm going to try to set up under here, and I'm gonna leave the pan on because the water coming out of the bottom of the cylinder is coming out in multiple places, or at least it looks like it is. By the time it gets past the seal, as it goes down around the bottom of the liner, it spreads out, so it'll probably be real hard for the camera to see the drips. So I'm gonna leave the oil pan, let the oil pan catch all the drips, and you can see the stream come out of the oil pan to get an idea of how bad this thing is leaking. So I'll put probably a gallon of just regular water in it first, show you guys that, and then we'll mix up some Dike and I'll show you guys putting that in there, and we'll watch and both be hoping and crossing our fingers that it stops the leak and we can get this thing up and running for a little bit. So, all right guys, I didn't expect this cold weather to really affect us that bad, but I've got about 5 gallons of coolant in there, a mix of antifreeze and water, distilled water. And it's not leaking anywhere near as bad as it was. It's 50 something degrees out probably. Pull my phone real quick. Yeah, I don't know if that'll show. 52 degrees. So for whatever reason, that has really slowed that leak way down. And I'll probably spin the water pump a little bit. I use this wheel. Having to use my cordless drill. It's charging right now. This little right angle drill I have, it will not work anymore. It's a central pneumatic. I've used it once, I think, to do a head stud on a F-150, 2004 F-150. And that's about all the use I ever got out of it. So I was hoping I could use it to spin the water pump, but let me get under here and see if I can show you the drip on this thing. So it's fairly steady, as you can hopefully see. Oh, sorry, cut the video. All right, there, I think you can see it pretty good. Pretty steady. I've had the the block heater running for about 4 hours, almost 8 o'clock now. I started at 3, so I guess that's 5 hours. So as it's gotten hotter, the speed has picked up. So you can see it's definitely leaking. When it was warmer out, I would say it was leaking probably twice as fast as this. It was almost a slow stream like this. And you can see we've got some pretty good speed coming out of there once in a while. So I'm gonna put some block or some of that stop leak in it. I can't even think. It's getting late. Been a busy day. I'm gonna put some stop leak in it, and I'm gonna leave the block heater on. Spin the water pump and see if we can't get this to slow down any. Alright guys, in case you're wondering what this stuff looks like, it is a nice green thick liquid. And it probably doesn't like being cold either. So I'm going to put it in this gallon jug. Oops, that was fun. Take some distilled water. Get it good and mixed up. Grab another one. Again, this is a 6-gallon system. Comes with these nice little wrapped tops. May be irritable to eyes and skin. So far, so good. Alrighty. I'll put a little in there. Good shape. This one's only going to be the half bottle. Feels like half. Kind of looks like half. The little sight gauge is kind of hard to see. Put just a little more in there. It does seem to dilute well with water. So. Alright, so there's half a gallon. Ideally, I think this would have been better if this would have went in first. But for the sake of YouTube videos and getting a leak to show up, it had to go in later. So I'll deal with those repercussions. I'll get it put in and I'll come back and see if we can slow the leak. Alright, this drill's about crap, but twist the camera. You can see it's slow turning, but works pretty well. I'll be here for a while doing this. Alright guys, so the pan is not here below me. The drips have nearly stopped from a real steady stream to now it's just sort of every great once in a while there'll be a little drip here and there. But I think part of that was because the way I tried to do this video, to where I wanted it to leak and show you guys how much it was leaking, So I ended up basically filling the system, trying to get as much head pressure on those O-rings as I could to get it to leak, and it turns out it was still kind of cold, so it still didn't really want to leak like it was. So then putting the Dike in on top of that, it was probably not the most ideal situation. It probably would have been better to put it in first and flush it through the system with all the other coolant. So I ended up taking a corded drill that spins a lot faster, and that a decal removal wheel, and spun and spun and spun until about 10 minutes worth of spinning. I finally got this thing pretty well where it's quit leaking. It's still got a little bit of moisture in the pans. We got a drip about to come through right now. But I'm gonna put the plug in, and we will come back and check it in the morning. Again, I think this is a pretty good success, really, given the way I've had to do this. It would be better if there was oil in the pan and we could crank the engine and get the engine warm and cycle the fluid through it real good. But for what I've done with a drill, I'm pretty happy. So we'll check back tomorrow and see how it does. Alright guys, curiosity got the better of me yesterday, and I pulled the drain plug. It's been 2 days now. As you can see, just a little bit of water down there at the very bottom. That's all that came out of the pan. Like I said, it's been 2 days. You climb under here and pop the plug again real quick. See what we got. Just a little bit, mostly oil residue. Stuff's just been sitting in the pan. That's not too bad. In days past, comparatively, I would say in days past, it would have probably filled the whole damn jug here. It would basically leak out a couple gallons. If I had the radiator filled, it would fill the oil pan, basically. So that is a big improvement. I think I will really get the best improvement once I get it up and running and get the stop leak through the system. You still got some oil sludge and antifreeze mix that's all over the walls of everything in this engine. So this is kind of a sacrificial oil change at best anyway. It's going to let us know how well the stop leak works, and hopefully it will help clean out some of the engine. So but you guys might think that looks pretty bad, but for sitting here 2 days, and when it would drain 2 gallons in 40 minutes, that's a huge improvement. So we'll be pulling the pan here in a few. Clean up the gasket surface, put the pan back up in place, put all the bolts in, and throwing some oil in it. Alrighty, see you moving. It's working. Hey guys, how's it going? It is a very wet day out here. Got a little break in the rain. Wanted to post an update on the bucket truck and the stop leak. And this will probably be the final update for a while. So Man, the yard is soaked everywhere I step. So how did it... I've got a couple videos as we've tried to watch this thing. So we did operate the upper... Oh crap, I left my yardstick out here. We did operate the upper for a while. And I'll take that. And then we ran it down the road after we put the stop leak in it. So we got it up good temperature. Got up to 190. Ran the upper a good bit. It all worked real well. Outriggers definitely need grease. They kind of didn't want to come back up with a lot of weight on them. But other than that, they were fine. Ran it down the road for a good ways. And then brought it home and parked it. And I basically used this yardstick here. Let's see, it goes down in about that far. So I was sitting at 8, and it's in about 8 7/8. So when I pulled it when it was hot, I was at 3.5 inches of coolant. Waited till the engine cooled completely down. Took it again, I was at, get in there. I was at 1 inch after the engine was completely cool. So, and you probably can't see it now because the stick's wet, but started it up the day before yesterday. And I don't have a CDL, so I wasn't going to take a chance driving it. But I sat it here in the yard. I operated the upper flew the boom around all different configurations. Probably sat here and ran this thing for 20 minutes. It wasn't smoking horrible out of the down tube, but it was puffing a little bit of what looked like steam. So it's definitely uses some coolant. And when I came back later that night, there was nothing on the stick. So we had lost that inch, at least. And there's still nothing on it, of course. It's not going to gain fluid, so... Moral of the story is, did the stop leak work? No, it did not completely stop the leak. Did it help the leak? It definitely helped the leak. Because before I started it up that second time, I did pop the drain plug. And it did have a little bit of coolant sitting in the bottom of the oil. So coolant will separate from oil for the most part. And it will go to the bottom. So it did have a little bit at the bottom, maybe a quart worth. And again, it had been sitting for a while, so before, if it had sat that long, it would have gallons. Probably the whole radiator would be down there. But this time we only had a quart, so it has definitely made a huge improvement. I think this particular engine was probably just too far gone. I don't know if it is a liner seal or a crack in the liner itself. So the stop leak I'm using is Dike. And Dike doesn't ever harden. It doesn't ever solidify. So if it clogs up the hole and you ever get a pressure wave pushing back on that hole, it will knock the sealer out. So if it's in the liner itself, some kind of cavitation or a liner crack or anything like that, it probably will never seal anything like that, because the pressure wave, even if it's below the piston rings, just the pressure wave that piston creates as it goes past that point in the liner could probably blow that sealer back out. So definitely would work much better for a radiator or a cooler or something like that that doesn't have that negative pressure or that positive pressure on the opposite side trying to blow it out of the area it's trying to seal. So all in all, I do think it was successful. I wish we would have had Dike before we brought it home, because we would have dumped a whole lot less coolant in the oil on the way home. But again, the video earlier of me showing it coming out of the bottom of the oil pan, it just really didn't do it justice from the days prior when it would come out a lot faster. So again, when it was cooler, when the engine is cooler, it leaks less in general, and that's why we made sure to get it up to operating temperature to make sure it truly was sealing. And once it's up at operating temperature, it does start leaking a little bit again. So I've shopped around to 4 different shops for quotes on an end frame. Wow, they vary something. It's crazy how much diesel shops vary on quotes for stuff like this. So one shop, basically, they don't do this kind of work. They stay more in the smaller truck pickup truck size stuff up into the medium duty, like the 450, 550 diesels. So they pushed me off to another shop. I'm still waiting on a quote from them. 2 other shops that do deal specifically with this bigger stuff. One gave me a quote of like $14,000 and change for an end frame. And another gave me a ballpark of 6 to 8 and said maybe it could push to 10 if they find some bad things inside. The starting point though is to pull the pan, pull all the caps, check the crankshaft and everything else. And if that all looks good, then it's probably pretty smooth sailing. So while we're in there, we'll probably throw an oil pump at it too. We've already put a water pump on it, so we'll update you on that. I'm waiting for that one more quote, then I'm gonna make my choice, drop the thing off, and it'll probably take them a couple weeks to get it done. So which I'm not worried about a couple weeks, because as you can see, my yard is so wet I couldn't get a truck out here if I wanted to, and I'm not gonna try to destroy my yard. So I need some time for it to dry up. We were planning to do some of our tree work more in the winter anyway, when the ground's starting to freeze up and get a little harder. So just because it's less work to have to repair the yard. So that's the update. That's how Dike works. So my personal recommendation, I am not affiliated with that company at all. I would recommend keeping some on hand for a situation if you need it, or if you're going to go pick up something like that maybe has a coolant issue. It's not bad to have in a roadside kit, because it definitely helped. And it was a bad leak. It was so bad I didn't expect it to fix it. And the other competitors' products that harden up, I really didn't figure they would stop it either. So, and I didn't want to put something that in my system. So I will give probably a post update after the rebuild to see what the mechanics say, because I'll tell them it had Dike in it, and make sure it does flush out as the company claims it will. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and there'll be more to come.